Who is going to get to heaven? Perhaps we should answer a couple of other questions first. No, I'm not making this harder than it has to be, but we want an accurate answer, right? The number one question needs to be, how do we get an accurate answer? People like to answer this to their own advantage. That means their way to heaven is the easiest possible route. That makes me think of the Lucy Maud Montgomery book, The Story Girl. In the 4th chapter, Peter, the hired hand, is asking about the Methodist and the Presbyterian churches. He wants to know which is better. The story girl tells him it doesn't matter because they both go to heaven. Peter's response, however, is very telling. He says, but one way must be easier or better than the other, or else they'd all be one kind. I want to find the easiest way, and I've got a hankering after the Methodists. My Aunt Jane was a Methodist. So Peter had 2 criteria for determining the best way. It had to be the easy way, and he wanted that way to be what his Aunt Jane was. Perhaps the conversation is a little amusing, but if we listen carefully, we can hear a lot of us adults in it too. We choose based on a beloved relative, and that may be comforting on the surface, but is it necessarily safe? We call that old-time religion, and it's being good enough for an ancestor should not make it good enough for us. We need to investigate the truth found in God's Word. Far too many people choose based on the easy way. The Bible does describe a way like that, only Jesus called it the broad way in Matthew 7:13. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and many are those who enter by it. A little further on, Jesus talks about that day when we come before him in judgment. He points out some very well-meaning religious people in verses 21 and 22. They had been doing things religiously and were confident that they were in. The response of Jesus in verse 23 is shocking. And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. If we don't abide in his word and do what he actually says to do, we're going to get the surprise of surprises in eternity. Who will get to heaven? Those who take up their crosses and follow after him. Luke chapter 9, verse 23.